Hearts run right to the end. People come on, you don't need to be scared. Cause you're gonna love again.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the concluding episode of the Haider Rifaat Show Season 9 specials. I'm your host Haider Rifaat, and I had been thinking for quite some time now who should be my last guest for the season. A lot of names came to mind, but one really stood out, mainly because of his service to the fashion industry in South Asia. Deepak Perwani has been a force in the fashion business for 31 years. He also holds the Guinness World Record for creating the largest kurta in the world. Kurta, as you know, is a traditional garment worn in South Asia and different parts of the world. Please welcome to my show, Deepak Perwani. Thank you so much, Deepak, for joining me.
Not at all, Heather. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be on the show.
Of course. So before I get into, there's lots to talk to you about, but I wanted to first get to know a little bit more of a personal side of who you are as a person. So can you share three interesting facts about yourself that people might not know about you?
I think there are many facts that people don't know about me. I'm an avid actor. I'm on television all the time. My recent drama is called Jamaat Taksim,
Mhm.
which is on air currently. I enjoy acting. I do a lot of charity work, which is not projected on social media as such, because I think CSR activities should be kept personal, and because they kind of nourish your own soul. And the third one is that I paint when I want to, and I can even write music when I want to. So
Wow.
you can say that there are many hidden talents one has, which are not really exposed to or to people on media.
Definitely. And you're overall a very creative person, it sounds like it.
Well, I think to have the privilege to be creative is a lot of fun. I think that is part of being a designer or being part of the design process.
Hmm.
That fashion is a blank canvas and you can write whatever you want to write on it, and that's the beauty of fashion or any other creative arts.
Exactly. Now, Deepak, in my introduction, I mentioned how you have been such a force in Pakistan's fashion industry, not just in Pakistan, but in South Asia overall. But with success comes a lot of turmoil, a lot of confusion, and a lot of struggle. So, what has
Mhm.
your experience been like?
I always say this to students when I'm giving university lectures or when I always say that it's very important to fall before you can learn how to fly. And I think as human, that is your basic strength.
Yeah.
The more you tend to fail, is the higher the marks are that you will succeed. And turmoils come and go. I mean, when you live in a country like Pakistan where things changed every day, where uh, people or the political scenario changes faster than the seasons, you kind of learn to live with that pace. Secondly, fashion itself is so fast and it's so disposable in today's day and age. Where I always quote that for a poor designer, the he's only as good as his last collection. So you're constantly on the go trying to create another one. And as far as dealing with things are concerned, I think being either a fashion designer, being in any creative industry, whether it's music, art, or cinema, culture, or even being a model, you constantly have to be on the go, because someone can really come and take that mantle very, very soon. It all takes a couple of collections.
Yeah, yeah. And have you ever encountered any experience in life? I mean, many people have different experiences when it comes to criticism. How do you balance and how do you handle and how do you manage and cope with criticism living in the public eye as a fashion designer?
I think there's two ways to look at it. One is critiquing,
Hmm.
and the second is criticism. If you're critiquing a collection, okay, then first of all, you must know what the collection is all about. What was the designer's inspiration? What was the theme? What was the background to this collection? And you go ahead and you critique it. And positive critique is acceptable. It's very good because
Yeah.
it makes you learn. But criticism for the sake of criticism, just because you want to write something about someone who's important on social media to get a few numbers is not on. Okay. And I see the other way around. I don't see a lot of the times, at least now, there's no critique because a lot of the fashion weeks are not happening, and fashion shows are not over, and everyone's focus and concentration is on putting their collections on social media. So I don't see a lot of criticism now. I see more of paid posts than anything else. But if we were to look at it from a decade ago point of view or 7 years ago point of view, then I think a lot of undue criticism used to come in, because it's easy for people to sit and become famous on social media overnight by criticizing important or famous people.
Yeah, I actually wanted to. This was one of my questions, and I'm glad that you brought this up. How has, do you think commercialization has become the death of fashion?
I think disposable fashion has become the death of fashion for sure, because the cheaper the fashion, the more people buy it, and the line between what is original and what is not original is completely crossed. So even in the past, we would have these arguments where we would see diluted collections of designers, or even our own coming out from retailers, and we were told that, oh, there's always an excuse. Oh, Zara does it, or H&M does it, and they dilute a designers, international designers collection, and you can find them cheaper. But I also think that there's something called responsible fashion, because when you dilute fashion, you create numbers. You also create a lot of garbage. You also create a lot of unsold pieces. You also create a lot of inventory, and fashion is not a polyester, or fabrics are not easy to burn. So it creates a lot of environmental hazard.
Yeah.
And for a designer like myself, we've always kept our quantities under control. We've always kept up our supply and demand under control, only not to create waste as far as fashion is concerned.
Hmm, hmm. And I think the whole point of fashion is also to have longevity in terms of your designs. Like they stay with you forever. They're not disposed of so easily. That's why
But,
you-
but that is what the real problem is, because when you're diluting the design doesn't stay with you, because big giant retailers are churning out designs all the time, so they dilute the design. Okay,
yeah,
and then you have the other side where if a designer wants to create something expensive and something viable, like you said, something that could be kept over the years, um, and in South Asian countries, the word would be, let's say, heritage, or heritage wear. Um, uh, um, Customers are scared of paying that kind of a price, because they don't understand, because fast fashion will be the death of couture fashion eventually.
yeah. I was talking to Maheen Khan in my previous interview, and she was talking about commercialization and how much she has a problem with it. And I think it is really also diluting fashion in its core sense, because we know that there's so much paid content out there that is kind of like pushing designs and shoving them in front of people, like this is what you're supposed to buy, but there's no thought process behind it. It's just money. So, what are your thoughts about paid content and commercialization that has kind of like taken over social media in terms of fashion?
It was bound to happen. It was bound to happen. After all, you are connected to the global world, literally by the click of a button. Here we are talking to each other. Okay, so बड़ी अच्छी example है कि जो दिखता है वो बिकता है.
Mhm.
And if someone's going to put in more money and more content on social media, and has a much wider reach than any other designer, original designer, this is bound to happen. A great example of this is, I mean, I shouldn't say this, but a great example of this is my 2010 Milan collection that I showed in Milan Fashion Week. And literally in 3 weeks, Dolce & Gabbana had taken a massive inspiration from it. I won't say much more. And by the time I'd gone back to Milan 2 months later to take a holiday, the entire windows had changed. And everything was inspired by truck art on Smeg refrigerators, and color and loud. And I remember coming back, and half of Karachi was like, they've copied you. I said, I know, but I can't do much about it, can I? So life goes on.
It does. It really does. And speaking of which, you recently showcased your designs at the Admiralty Needle Fashion Festival, which
Mhm.
took place in Saint Petersburg, and many other countries were also represented, including Russia, Cuba, Tajikistan, among others. So, how important do you think is the role of fashion in promoting diplomatic ties with other countries and other fashion industries, given that you have also served in a few ambassadorial roles, correct?
Mhm. I think it's very, very important because you see, there are certain languages that are global. Music is a global language that people understand.
Yeah.
You know, when you go for international music festivals, film is a language that people understand. Okay, whether the film is dubbed into a different, but it's dubbed in English, so people can understand what the content of the film is. And same way, fashion is understood on a global. So it's fantastic for diplomacy. You know, it brings in a very softer image. People understand when people see the clothes that you're projecting, they can understand the society and where the progression of that society is, where you're coming from. To show in a country like Russia in itself is a feat, I think. Not many people get to go to Russia, and it was absolutely incredible. So I feel that it's very important to show your country's talent abroad constantly, because if we look at it from the Pakistani point of view, we don't tend to promote ourselves so much.
Hmm.
Um, no, we don't get a lot of tourism, so we don't get the how do I put it? You know, we don't have advertising anywhere. Advertising they come to Pakistan and this is what's available and that is all available. So we kind of live in a little isolated environment here, and to be able to do these shows abroad is also changing minds.
Yeah, and I think you guys are really taking the stand for that, you and Maheen Khan, because the Pakistan China fashion show also took place, and that was also fabulous. So having that representation on the global stage really matters, especially when
Mhm.
you feel like a country like Pakistan is already very underrepresented. Even
Mhm.
living abroad and staying here, there's so many stereotypes that are associated with Pakistan. So it really feels good that you're able to, bridge those stereotypes in whatever capacity that you can, like as a student, as a mentor, as a designer, and as a creative overall. I wanted to ask you two questions related to this one, about the fashion festival in St. Petersburg. What was the theme behind the pieces that you showcased, and what is also any upcoming collection or upcoming line that you're working on, and any theme that you would like to share?
The theme for this year was understated elegance,
Oh,
and that's what we were also showing. And basically, the Admiralty Needle is the largest fashion festival that's been happening for about 30 years in St. Petersburg. So, well, they have and it's connected to the State University of St. Petersburg, where the students also show their collections on the other days. But they want the students to have exposure to international markets or international collections also, to
mhm.
see what is happening all over the world. Okay. You also have to understand that, like, we are a little isolated, Russia is a little isolated also. And so it's very important for them to be able to show students what is the fashion in the region and what is the fashion globally. So it was
Mhm.
not just a fashion show. I had to give a master class, which I gave to the students. I also had to do a seminar with them. I also do a lecture encouragement kind of a class as to how they should look at fashion and not be stuck with their own region, but rather look at international fashion. So there are a lot of aspects to this. The entire festival is about 5 days, um, from the beginning to the end. So you also have judges from Milan, you have judges from New York, you have a lot of people who come into this festival. As far as my new collection is concerned, we have a show coming up in Dubai next week. So we are doing a continuation of the collection that we've done. Velvet is in the season right now. It's cold. Everybody wants to wear luxury and beautiful things because the wedding season is on. So that's what we are continuing with.
Mhm. Right, right. And I wanted to also talk to you a little bit about the landscape of Pakistan's fashion industry as well, because as you know, that you guys are pillars of the fashion industry, you, Maheen Khan, and so many other people who are doing fantastic work. So, how would you assess where our industry, fashion industry, is particularly heading towards?
I think we've managed to. I mean, it's only been we did the Pakistan Fashion Week for 13 years, and we shut it down pre-COVID, and post-COVID it was not revived. But those 13 years have created an incredible dynamic industry.
Hmm.
You've got malls everywhere. You've got the entire sense of spring, summer, fall, winter. Eid collections, Valentine, New Year's, Christmas, party season, Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3, Black Friday. I mean, there's so much that has come in. The fashion industry has now become like that Hallmark card, uh, where every holiday is there for you to buy. And this is just the last 15 years. In those 15 years, you've had giant retail brands who were only export houses like Nishat or Gul Ahmad or Al Karam Textiles or any of these guys. And they also have now stores in the local market. Then you've got designers who now have 100, 50 stores each, like Sana Safinas. So fantastic. I mean, what is there to say about the Pakistani fashion industries? It's up, up, and up, flying.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. But sometimes I also wonder, like, if you or Maheen Khan or so many other fashion designers were kind of like taking the fashion industry forward in Pakistan, you guys are not also going to be here forever, right? You have to
Mhm.
also think about the upcoming generations, upcoming fashion designers. So when you think about it from a very long-term perspective, who do you think will be that guiding force when you guys are no longer part of this fashion industry anymore?
Till death do us apart, huh? Um, I think you have to be magnanimous and open-hearted and you have to shed a lot of insecurities
Mhm.
to get where we are today. Okay, and I think it's a process that everybody takes. I think a collective platform like a fashion council would have created that sense of camaraderie and would have also created that sense of belonging where the older would have guided the younger,
Yeah.
okay, and groomed them and gotten them ready, and for someone to take the mantle, because it's not easy to invite people on the same platform as yourself and then provide them your guest list and create clientele from that for young designers to come in. um, but I think, yes, you're right, it's a stalling process, and but I'm sure there are designers who eventually will wake up and they will try to do something more um, together and move forward rather than trying to create their little plot of land for themselves. So I think that would happen eventually. But I think it's a great question because it's a two-pronged question. And on the other hand, you have social media, you have access to a global market. So let's see if this would happen.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. And Deepak, what has been in your career of 31 years in the fashion industry, what has been the most defining moment for you?
Well, as a designer, there have been many defining moments. How many? I mean, St. Petersburg was a standing ovation just now because I don't think they had seen those kind of clothes. 2010 Milan was a standing ovation. Um, I've gotten many standing ovations, so I'm quite proud of a lot of the stuff. I think designing for Imran Khan, Musharraf Saab, Shaban Azmi, Javed Akhtar. I mean, a lot of people generally. So there's been a lot of we've just done the new uniform for Pakistan State Oil, and I'm the face of the Pakistan State Oil. That's coming up right now. To be appreciated as an actor coming from a design world, that in itself is no small feat because actors are not easy and they don't appreciate if you're not a good actor. So I'm not going to say there's one defining moment. I would say there have been many defining moments.
Hmm.
And well, I remember when I was quoted the Pride of Pakistan by the Times of India. That in itself was a defining moment again. So there are a lot of things. I don't particularly. It's such a long career, where you've done over 200 videos and you've styled from Junoon to Vital Signs to Hadika Kiani, Najm Shiraz, and you've gone on and created music videos like Hamaj and music videos like Narena for Ali Asmat, and you've done some incredible iconic work. So I look at everything as a process. Like I said, you're only as good as your last collection, and that was only 3 months ago. So
Yeah.
I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting for the new one to create the new one and drop another bomb and say, "Wow, let's move forward." And that's how I look at life. I mean, I'm not somebody who kind of backs off and says, "Yeah," and somebody who sort of sits on their old laurels. Um, it would be very easy to say, "Oh, I've got MTV awards, and I've got 7 Lux Style awards, and I've got these awards. I'm sorry, those are done, buddy. You know, let's see the next collection.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
And also, what kind of legacy do you wish to leave behind as a fashion designer and as a creative overall? Because you have been doing a lot of creative work aside from fashion designing too.
I think that legacy is going to be very strong when eventually I decide to pop off. All right. I think it's a 31 year, not even 30, more than 30 body of work, archival, which designers will have a feat looking at. We've gone through so many emotions and motions of collections because a lot of designers don't do collections. And we've done specific collections. There's a collection that was based on Frida Kahlo, which is right now, which made it to the Frida Kahlo book, printed by Asoline New York. And the dress made it. And they've now asked us to, I think by next year, we have to send the dress for the Frida Kahlo Museum in Mexico. So we're also the only design house that is mentioned in the Fashion Designers Atlas of the World. We're also mentioned in a lot of international books. So it's a very interesting time. And I think, another 20 years to go maybe. And eventually when I decide to pop off, I'm sure it's going to create a massive archival body of work that designer will appreciate, enjoy, and take inspiration from.
Definitely, of course. And I was curious to also know, I know you mentioned acting in your earlier responses as well. So what got you interested in acting?
I was
Why
bored.
you were bored? Okay. Okay.
I'm a very high-strung human being. I like working 10 hours a day and Saturday. I'm always on the move. And if I'm not working, I'm walking. If I'm not walking, I'm at the gym. If I'm not at the gym, I'm at a dinner. I'm doing something or the other. Okay. I like taking the juice out of a day. It's nice.
Yeah.
I don't mind it. And
That's good. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So as far as acting, I was given a role 20 years ago in this drama called Mere Paas Paas, which did very well. And it was a massive hit. And then after that, I would do chota dramas here and there, but I wouldn't really act. So I was doing dramas every 2-3 years. Only the last 2 years, I've done 4 dramas at the same time. So, even 2 are running right now. Like Saval Yar Pia is running, where I'm playing a lawyer, and Jama Takseem, where I'm playing a dad. So both are running right now. And I find it therapeutic. It's, you have to understand that I've been a designer since I was 19 years old. So I've been the king of my own castle since I was 19 years old. It's kind of nice to sit back and say, "Haan, chai le aao." Yeah, okay, sir, is shot ready? And say sir to the director, because I've never said sir to anyone. So for me, it's lovely and therapeutic.
Yeah, that's interesting you mentioned that because I wanted to address this a little bit as well because, I want to link acting and the fashion industry together a little bit because sometimes they tend to overlap because obviously actors also wear designer clothes and then they walk the ramps and so on and so forth. But acting as a profession is very cutthroat because you really have to prove your merit. But on top of that, there's that layer of nepotism as well that kind of like also hijacks talent, pure talent. And it's more like they don't give room to those new actors who are clearly don't have a solid name that's backing them up. So fashion industry is a little bit different because I feel like you said, at the age of 19, you opened your store, you were the man of your own castle. So how are the challenges different in your view when it comes to the fashion industry and the acting industry?
Completely different. You have to, just because you're a designer, just because you're famous, that doesn't mean that they will accept you. You have to, make your own mark. And I mean, almost every actor come up to me and say brilliant. In fact, very recently I was in Nice for a holiday, and Rubina Ashraf, the actress, was there, and she was checking into the hotel, and I was checking out of the hotel, and she goes, "Deepak, बहुत late कर दिया आपने. Why did you start acting now? You should start acting 30 years ago. You were brilliant in your last play." So from Bushra Ansari, whether it's Behrouz Safsawari, whether it's Javed Sheikh Saab, anybody, senior actors or younger actors, I've always heard praise. So I must have done something right. And trust me, praise coming from actors is not easy at all. Nobody praises you because
Yeah.
first and foremost, you are saying yourself that I'm a fashion designer and not an actor, right? So for them to turn around and say you're good, you're good.
And even when the praise comes from your director.
Yeah, yeah, fabulous. I mean, it's like the Actors Guild Awards. Okay, if actors tell you you're good, then it doesn't matter about the Academy.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So very lastly, to conclude, any advice for youngsters, whoever is wanting to step into this industry and also the creative industry overall, whether it's acting, whether it's the fashion industry, or whether it's any other profession for that matter, because I think it doesn't matter as long as the advice is solid and it's there. I think it can really shape perspectives. It can really mold people and encourage people to, especially youngsters, to do what they really need to do. Because oftentimes I feel like in the academic setting over here, students don't know what to do, like where their heart is, and they're still figuring things out. So, what advice would you give to them? And
I think
also,
everybody, yeah,
what
go on,
tools
go on.
what tools do you think they need to keep in their pocket in order to survive and thrive?
I think in today's day and age, not in today's day, in every age, hard work is the key to success. Okay, and I always believe that one must also believe in the beauty of their dreams.
Mm.
Okay, and like I always ask my designers if I'm interviewing someone, and I say, "Do you dream clothes? Do you? Do you dream dresses at night? Okay, or do you dream fabrics, for example?" So I think you have to believe in yourself. What you need to keep in your pocket. I think people in today's day should be grateful that they have access to the entire world on the click of a button. So you can see your opportunities. You can go online and research. You can ask AI and use tools to create business models and businesses. Blah blah blah. Um, but the key to everything is hard work. The key to everything is because you must learn how to fall before you can learn how to fly. And it's
Mm.
okay to fall. It's okay to shatter the glass ceiling. It's okay to, you know, be upset for a few days, but that shouldn't discourage you. That should only encourage you. Be positive.
Yeah,
You
no,
know,
I
I
think
mean,
that's yeah.
there are people who, recently we've had this discussion with someone, and there are people who grow up their entire life, for example, blaming their parents for what happened to them or what their future will be. You're there to define your own future, man. You know,
Mm.
their future is their future is done. So get up and get on with it. It's
Yeah,
that simple.
yeah. Thank you so much, Deepak. That was great advice, and I really appreciated this conversation with you. Thank you for being a guest on my show. This was my show's ninth season, and it was the concluding episode of this season. So thank you so much, and I really appreciate your designs as well. I've been going through your social media, some fantastic work you're doing. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you.
Thank you, Rifat, and thank you for having us. Thank you, everyone, for watching this. Thank you. Khudafis.